5, 4.
Big ups, Nick. Love the hook, brother. I'm going to fucking give you some hype all day, brother. Welcome back. Week 5 of the Fantasy Hustle. I'm your host, John, along with my sidekick. I'm just your co-host, Brad. We got our man on the 1s and 2s, Stretton. What's up, Stretton?
Stealing my sound effect?
So what's up, peeps? Hopefully you fared a little bit better than me in one league, I guess you'd say. Still rocking the goose egg.
Oh, God.
Which I think it's kind of cool. 0-4.
No.
Just historic comeback. But bottom line is, pretty interesting week we had here. Not as many upsets as last week, but quite a few interesting games here. Couple injuries, couple stories, couple milestones, and first off, that Thursday night game was pretty popping. You know, good shootout. Definitely what people wanted to see.
Yeah, I talked about how upset I was that was the game, because I thought you want to see that game with a full week, both those teams with a full week to prepare, but they did not disappoint. If every Thursday night game was something close to that, then it would be a good, amount of entertainment there, and you can actually get into it and watch it. But I think right off the bat this week, we're going to have Colts without a plethora of guys already going to New England, and they're just going to get destroyed by the Patriots. Got them.
Didn't. Anyway.
If you're clapping throughout the episode, we are all three trying to kill a fly that's driving us all crazy in the studio.
Driving me bananas, man.
It's because someone left a banana in here.
I'm going to kill that motherfucker.
I like bananas.
I'm going to kill him. Anyway, rest of the week was pretty interesting here. A couple upsets we had on the forefront. Titans, 26 over the Eagles, 23 in overtime. Thought that was a kind of interesting game there. Eagles they got Wentz back, got Alshon back. That connection looked really well, but even Ertz chipped in a little bit, starting to show a little bit more momentum. But the Titans, who are they? Who is this Vrabel coach team?
Well, they're a playoff team from last year. They're now 3-1, and you know what? They lost week 1 after Mariota got hurt, and since then they've rattled off 3 pretty good wins in a row here, including this week. And you know what? Corey Davis is starting to look like a guy that could be a top 15 receiver, maybe top 10 receiver. So that's a dangerous thing. If they can get Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis going like they envisioned early in the offseason, then this is a team that could make some noise in the AFC.
Yeah, definitely a dark horse for sure, and they're kind of ticked off about that, the way things have been. Everyone's hyping up the Jaguars and Houston, and they want a little bit of love here. Next game that I thought was pretty interesting was the Bengals beating the Falcons 37-36. Matty Ice, I love the weapons he's got there. Ridley, Sanu. I mean, there's a handful of things that are just going his way. Imagine when they get Freeman back, because Coleman hasn't done shit. But on the other side of the ball, you look at a Mixon-less Bengals, Eifert-less Bengals, and they're moving the ball pretty good. I mean, Boyd, Green, that diving catch to win the game was pretty sick. Definitely something that I think is going to be what they need to step up to the next level. I know that defense is a little old, and you can tell by the way that the Falcons kind of zigzag through it, but pretty solid game there. Also the Pittsburgh game. Pittsburgh, everyone thought was going to kind of take the realm there, but Baltimore looking like they want to be the king in that division here.
Yeah, for sure. Bengals, like you touched on there, and Baltimore, they're both 3-1 in that division, along with the Titans. So AFC now has a bunch of 3-1 teams behind chasing Kansas City. And Baltimore, beginning of the year, I didn't think they were going to be a very good team. I thought they'd be one of the worst teams in the league.
Oh, definitely.
I didn't think their offense could, go toe-to-toe with some of these teams that they're on their schedule, the Steelers, for instance, this week. And they were able to. And they did enough. And they held that Steelers offense down. So going forward here, I think those two teams are going to be in one hell of a dogfight for that division, because they both look like they got just enough defense and just enough offense to be in every single game.
And Flacco's getting Hurst back. The rookie that he's been waiting for to kind of see. And, tight ends have strived out there in Baltimore. So I think it's going to be a great addition to what he's got going on there. Alex Collins, yeah, we've been talking how just downplayed he's been the whole year. And Buck Allen, that's what's going to happen when Buck Allen's in the house. He's always showing that he can do what he can do. Javoris, let's do this, boy. Let's do it. But, yeah, dabbling back into the Pittsburgh scheme of things, let's just say that. James Conner, everyone was like, oh, he's getting the rushing yards. He's doing this. He's doing this. But what is their record right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that 1-2-1, and he really hasn't been. Conner hasn't really been that good since week 1. He's been one of the worst running backs in the league.
And I think this whole situation, they're talking about Le'Veon reporting week 7 after the bye. I think that's going to fall into Le'Veon's favor more than anything. They know that he can't come in there. I mean, will Conner have like 3 receptions for 25 yards and 9 for 19, something really despicable.
He's just not doing what you expect. You know what you're going to get out of Bell. He's not doing that. And
I guarantee if Bell was there, the team's going to turn around there and start winning some ball games. And it sucks that now they're playing down 2 games and kind of have to come catch up here. A couple division foes. I mean, it's not like you're chasing one. You're chasing 2 teams who are definitely on the upturn. So definitely something to look at here. What injuries you got going on?
Well, real quickly too. We touched on those upsets there. The Chiefs and the Rams, I said, these 3-1 teams are chasing the Chiefs, who are 4-0. Chiefs look really damn good. And they beat a good Broncos team, and Patrick Mahomes finally faced a little adversity, but came through as a number 1 first-round pick should do. And, he had that left-handed throw. And, again, this
ridiculous.
He looks like he could be a really good player in this league. He's right now, like when I my first memories of Aaron Rodgers in the league when he first got the chance. This is what it's looking like. Now, there's still a lot of time in front of Mahomes here, but right now I think
Let me know when you're done blowing Rodgers.
I think Mahomes could be the next Aaron Rodgers, and if that's the case, then Kansas City's going to be a perennial playoff team, a Super Bowl contender every year. And right now, 4-0, looking good. The other 4-0 team, the LA Rams, who had a couple of...
A lot of people had them pegged.
Yeah, they had a couple of soft matchups. They really weren't tested yet. They did beat the Chargers, but then they get the Vikings. This high-powered offense went up against that really good defense, and the offense won in a big way. Goff had a huge day, got all his receivers involved, which is what you want to see if you have any of those guys. So that's the thing there. You got those 2 undefeated teams, and then real quickly, the Cardinals still winless, still look like crap.
Cardinals. I should change my fantasy football name to the Cardinals in respect.
There you go.
I think I need to.
And the only other storyline we got coming into this week is the guys that were suspended for 4 games. They are now back. So if you drafted Edelman and Mark Ingram with, anticipating them sitting out 4 weeks for you, and let's say you're 1-3, 2-2, you did it. You survived. Now maybe you can get on a run with these guys. So that's basically the storylines going into week 5 here. And you ready for these injuries?
Yeah. Let's kick it off.
As if tight end wasn't weak enough, Tyler Eifert, done for the year. So another good tight end goes down. And, you got Hunter Henry, who went out early in the year. You have, now Eifert's out. You have, a bunch of other guys, and Ingram's hurt. And it's just a really weak position. And before you know it, Gronk and Reed, when are they going to get hurt? Because if all these tight ends are getting hurt, and these 2 guys who are always hurt, eventually they're probably going to get hurt. So...
Well, Gronk's beat up right now.
Yeah, he's hurt right now, and he had to leave that game last week against the Dolphins, so he's not 100%. And maybe with Edelman coming back on a short week, Gronk might not be as heavily involved this week. But, yeah, so injuries are just killing the tight end position. And it makes people with Kelsey and Ertz look really, really smart. Now, the big injury here, Fournette. You touched on it preseason. This is a guy that's going to get hurt. I kept bringing up the hamstring thing. Hamstrings they're a tough injury.
Lingering, man.
And what does he do? He gets in there after sitting out 2 weeks, re-aggravates it. Now he's looking like he's going to sit out another 2 weeks at least. So, if you put that high draft pick, that first-round pick probably to get Fournette, you're in a tough spot here because he's only played 1 full game basically for you. And now he's sitting out another couple weeks, and who knows when he's going to be back on the field.
Would you put the Cook owners in the same category as Fournette, or do you think that Dalvin Cook may be back here a week or 2? Do you think it's smart for them to bench him this week? Being where they're at, it's kind of a panic situation where, okay, we can't be down 3 games to the Bears. You know what I mean? You can't be chasing that
Yeah.
much of a deficit.
Well, as a Cook owner myself, I am keeping him on my bench this week, but
Yeah.
I have the options. Like I said, Mark Ingram's coming back. I drafted Mark Ingram, so he's going to slide right in there for me. And I just don't need
is
Cook
he?
right now. And I was also able to pick up Yeldon on the waivers. So if you have the options, keep Cook on your bench right now. It's just to see him get in there and get the volume.
Yeah.
Because it's not about him going out there and playing and getting 5 carries, something like that. You want to see him go out there, play a full 60 minutes, and get around 20 carries. The other couple injuries here, got a couple of receivers. T.Y. Hilton, Sammy Watkins, Will Fuller, all had hamstring injuries. T.Y. has already been ruled out for the Thursday night game. Fuller and Watkins are 2 guys you got to watch. Watkins has a very tough matchup in Jacksonville,
Yeah.
so he might not be a good play anyway. But that is
Well, just practicing a day, so I think that's something that I'm going to go on the other side of the ball on that, and I think that maybe he is going to be a better option because of the coverage they're going to put on a Tyreek Hill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Figure Ramsey's going to go 1-to-1 on him. Not to say that they have killer secondary, but
you
there
still
may
got
be
Boye.
there may be that option to where Watkins can kind of slide in there, and they got Kelsey over the middle. They're gonna have to spread themselves out, a good amount. But in the long run, yeah, I agree though. Watkins could be a good hit or miss.
All right, so that was the guys that got injured this past week here. Let's just go right into the guys that performed very well this week. Starting at the quarterback. Who are your top 3 quarterbacks for this past week?
My ball is, baby. I got to go with, obviously, number 1, not being a homer, but I got to be able to, tout this right here. Mitch Trubisky, 6 touchdown passes, 354, 53 rushing yards over Tampa Bay. I think that was a solid performance right there. Followed up by Jared Goff. Had an excellent game, 5 TDs against a very tough Minnesota defense, which, they're trying to figure things out, but bottom line is the kid did it. And he threw some passes right over corner shoulders. Before. I mean, the passes were good. They weren't kind of some fluke, Fitz magic type shit.
Yeah.
But guy looked good, and I think that he is the real deal. The Rams got something good there, and I'd like to see them run this one out. And Andy Luck, welcome back, Andy. 4 TDs, 464 over Houston. I think that's a big step up there. Granted, he didn't. He ain't the same Andy.
He didn't get the win, and they had that 4th down call at the end of the game that cost him the game. But you look at it, Dalton here is all of a sudden becoming like the old man of the quarterbacks in the NFL. Obviously, you have the really old guys like Breeze and Brady, and now Rodgers is getting there. But when you look at some of the young guys, you have young studs in Goff. Trubisky had a good week. We'll kind of wait and say he's a stud, obviously. But Goff, Wentz, Mahomes, and it looks like there's a lot of good young quarterbacks. And Luck is still there. Now, if the shoulder never recovers fully, he might not be anything spectacular. But quarterback play is looking very good. In fact, 228 passing touchdowns through the first 4 weeks of the season is the most ever. And it beats the old record of 205. So we have 23 more passing touchdowns through the first quarter of the season.
All thanks to Mahomes.
Than ever before. And you got guys like Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns.
No.
Goff threw 5 touchdowns. Luck.
It's a big week.
A lot of guys threw huge touchdowns. And I also saw the first time ever, 1 week, there was 9,000 passing yards.
You don't say.
9,000 passing yards in a week. And this was with 2 teams on bye. So this is the way the league's trending. So kind of expect that to be more in the case. So, your top 3 are spot on. Those are the top 3 guys this week, and might as well just get onto the guys they were throwing to, I guess, receivers.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, a couple of the teams kind of spread it out a little bit, and I definitely got them in the on the limelight there. But kicking in the running backs first, Al Kamara. Gosh, guy's just a beast, man.
He's not fair.
Yeah, it isn't. It's like Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl.
He's a cheat code.
The guy is just. I guess if you're playing Al Kamara, the good thing is you got Ingram back who's going to take a little bit away from you. But good luck, man, because they're just going to throw him in the slot and they'll hit him. If anything, it's going to decrease Michael Thomas's production because he's going to be a receiver a little bit more. But I got him. Zeke showed up here. Zeke went 152, obviously touchdown Kamara with 3 TDs, but Zeke went 152 and then 4 for 88 and a touchdown. Looking like the Zeke of the past couple of years, trying to put things behind him, pick his team up. Someone's got to be the leader there. You know what I mean? Because no one in Dallas is showing any other potential. And got to go with Tariq.
Yep.
I mean, guy, 13 for 53. I understand people say that, but when you go in there 7 for 121 and a TD, Melvin Gordon had similar numbers, but long run, Tariq Cohen, he's the man you want as far as total yardage.
And what's the most surprising there about Cohen is the fact that Jordan Howard, the guy that's supposed to be the workhorse back, got out-touched, out-carried. And through the first half, Howard only had 2 carries, and I think Cohen was up there around 7 or 8 carries. So they had a game plan. They knew they weren't going to use Howard, and Cohen was the huge benefactor.
That's good. That's good because it's going to make teams think twice in regards to, all right, we got to play these guys 2 different styles, the ground and pound or letting this guy sneak out there for a screen. And guy's just fantastic to watch, man.
So I agree. Your top 3 there, absolutely. 2 guys I just want to really quickly touch on. Nick Chubb. He only had 3 carries, but he made him count 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then interesting, without Chris Carson, it was Mike Davis, not Rashard Penny. Davis had 101
The old IU
yards.
coach?
I think Mike Davis has been around the league a little bit. He might be in Seattle a couple years now, but he had 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I don't know why Seattle went out and spent a first-round pick on a running back that they're not going to use. So very, very interesting there, but those are the 2 running
you got to
backs
see if you got to see if Davis kind of can hold those numbers up too. I mean, I give him credit for doing it, but I want to see that a couple weeks back to back, just like Trubisky. Yeah, I saw that 6. It's enticing, but let me see a little bit more.
Yeah, you got to have stats on top of stats here. You got to build a little bit of a sample size.
Yeah, most definitely. Cooper Kupp, number 1 receiver here, 9 for 162 and 2 TDs. Man, he looks smooth, man. He looks smooth. Just
tell you what, again.
Sounds like
I'm
I'm over
just
here.
shaking his head.
Brad's like,
Speechless.
I mean, that is Kupp, Woods, Cooks. All very good games. All very good guys going forward here. I mean, there might be a game or 2 where, maybe even 2 weeks in a row where one of them just kind of gets held in check and doesn't do anything. But for the remainder of the season, I don't see why you sit these guys down at all. All 3 of them are great. Kupp went out there and just dominated, and Goff doesn't really discriminate in who he throws to. He's going to get those 3 guys the ball. And, as long as they're not giving Gurley 25 carries, they're all going to be heavily involved. So, Kupp's obviously the top dog here this week.
had DeAndre Hopkins following up behind him. 10 recepts, 169 a TD. Everyone's kind of waiting for him to take that next step up here, and I think he definitely did last week. Thinking the way Fuller's kind of been a little bit aggravated by injury, I think he may be moving in that direction on a consistent basis. Alf Blue, Lamar Miller, they're showing their presence, but not to a significant amount, you know what I mean? So I definitely see Watson relying heavily on DeAndre.
Yep.
And then, like you touched on earlier, Corey Davis, 161 a TD. I know there are other guys in that vicinity who are probably a couple more yards better, maybe a TD, less yards, but just for the sake of Corey Davis finally showing up, being the guy that we were thinking he was going to be for Mariota is impressive, and hopefully he keeps rolling with it.
Davis, a high first-round pick. He's got the potential, and he showed up. The only guy you left off Golden Tate here who caught.
Yeah, he was ahead of him.
He had all 8 of his targets he caught for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. And this is a guy that, you have Galladay and you have Jones there, but Tate is always going to be that old reliable, especially because they don't have a very good tight end situation. So Tate over the middle, Tate in the slot. He should be a guy that you can pretty much peg in for, 6-7 catches for maybe 60 yards minimum. That's your floor.
Yeah.
And obviously the ceiling you probably just saw here at 132 and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty close to what he can do. So good week for him. And, hey, receivers are going to keep doing this all year long.
And I think Tate's production is going to definitely keep rising with Carry On getting more involved in the offense here. So
yeah, absolutely. If you're listening, anyone out there in Detroit who happens to be calling plays for Detroit, stop giving LeGarrette Blount the ball and let Carry On do his thing.
yeah, they haven't learned that. On to the fallers this week. Guys who just took a step off the cliff. Obviously, the Fitz magic is not there anymore, so he kind of was one of my top fallers for sure.
Oh, yeah. And we saw this coming. I mean, he hadn't played a great defense yet, and you knew Mac was going to get in there and disrupt him, and he did. I mean, he another strip sack, and, Fitzmagic ended quickly, and it's tragic.
Tragic.
And Winston's the guy.
Another thing that's tragic is a guy on your squad who I thought was going to be pretty dominant this year, Kenyon Drake. Guy's been just trickling downward the whole year. The Dolphins, in general, offensively, has kind of just been a little bit stagnant. I'm not trying to take blows at you, but the long run is like, Kenyon, man, 3 for 3.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Miami hadn't been wowing anybody, hadn't been destroying anybody. They've been barely getting by to go 3-0, and then they played a really good team, and a really good team like New England at home took care of them. You touched on Drake 3 for 3. Frank Gore had 11 carries for 41 yards, so that is kind of and the lone touchdown on a pass.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something that makes you kind of think twice about Drake here. I like what Drake can do. I think he's a good player, but he's got to get the carries. He's got to get volume because if you only give him 3 touches, it's just what's the point? He needs to be able to because he's a guy that can just bust out, and if he's only getting the 3, he's not going to do it. If he gets 10 carries, one of those 10 is probably going to be a big play. So
yeah, I agree. I'm starting to second guess Gase and his coaches over there. I feel like they don't got the right scheme of things going on, and like I said, sometimes you just got to ground pound the ball. When they did that with Ajayi when he was there, man, he had no problem. But then there'd be games when he'd run for, 200 yards, and then they'd give him like half the amount of carries, and it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
you guys know what you're doing.
Okay.
But since you're talking about New England, another guy, Chris Hogan, guy was drafted predominantly high, 3rd, 4th rounder, and man, he is just not good, and it does not help
It does
Edelman's
not
back.
get any better now that Edelman's back. Exactly. They bring in Gordon, and now you have Edelman coming back. So, I mean, Hogan is basically just a guy that you hope he can get you a touchdown if you're playing him because that's what he's basically become now. And it just going forward, I don't know how you can start a guy like that. I mean, he's getting close to droppable at this point.
I agree. At this point, I don't know if I'd keep him on my team. Try to pawn him off or something and have someone offend you when they say, I don't want that bum.
Yeah.
And then you drop him.
What did you say?
Bum. That's what I am.
Bum.
My last faller. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Pass.
Also there in New England, Gronk. He kind of, was held in check. Only had 44 yards on 4 of 7, and got dinged up. So, Brady. I watched the highlights of that game. Brady didn't look great. He threw one really bad interception, and it was all the running game. I mean, Michelle had a really nice game. He's a guy we didn't touch on in the last segment there, but he's the guy that finally got the chance, and he showed up. So I think this is a situation here now that Edelman's coming back. You can't expect too much out of this pass, out of any individual guy. Like it's always going to be maybe it's Edelman's week, maybe it's Gronk's week. So, and then you still don't know what the hell you're going to get out of Gordon. So, but Gronk's the big one there for me as a faller.
Keeps him fouling. Lenny Fournette. I know we touched on him earlier, but that's a guy who's fallen. Definitely someone that, if I'm his owner, I don't know what he's going to be worth here in a couple of weeks. I'm not really trusting the fact he's going to be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So at that point, TJ Yeldon owners, big ups to you because you got a little bit of something. But the other guy we talked about also, James Conner, 9 for 19, 3 of 25. Those are just like a third of the numbers that Le'Veon Bell is going to put. I shouldn't even say that. A fifth.
Yeah.
In reality. So, those are the guys who might be time to start thinking of how can I acquire someone else? Or if you really are stuck in them buy spots and you need a second tight end, which is not a lot there, but you'd rather have 5 points than nothing, might as well skedaddle, man.
Yeah, this is a tough week for the tight end because Burton and Cameron Brate are on the buys, and they were actually decent options. They both scored touchdowns last week.
Yeah. So
you have all these bad tight ends available, and it's time for someone to step up there and, I don't know. But anyway, real quickly, it was a bad week for running backs is what I want to say here. Cook held in check. Howard didn't do much, didn't have a whole lot of chance. We touched on Fournette and Drake. Lamar Miller, I think his time in Houston is running out. When Foreman gets back from that Achilles, if he gets back, he's on the PUP, so he's out for the first 6 weeks of the season. So when he gets back, he's going to get every chance, I think, because Miller hasn't shown you anything. You know what Alfred Blue is. He's not going to be anything great.
Yeah.
So maybe it's going to be Foreman's time to shine. And, Miller, 14 for 49 on that high-powered offense. You just got to have more from your rushing game. So
he has been impressive the past couple of years. And unfortunately, he was at certain spots where you got stuck with him. But, yeah, until that offense starts gelling like they were last year, that's the other thing. Because when they were Fuller and Hopkins were just moving the ball, they were opening up that middle for him. And that hasn't really happened this year. It's kind of been one or the other. And I think once they all three get in on the same page, It's going to open up whatever running back's back there. But I like your call on Foreman. I mean, he's a guy you got him stashed for this time.
Yep.
Be ready for it come week 7.
Yeah, so that's all of our ballers and fallers.
Now we're on to who you got.
Who you got?
Hey, who you got?
Hey, Stratton, who you got?
Who you got?
Hey, boy, who you got?
Who you got?
All right.
Who you got?
Hey, man, I got a question.
Yeah, who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got?
All right.
All right.
So, QB, you're working with Patrick Mahomes versus Jacksonville or Kirk Cousins at Philly.
The problem with this is if you sit Mahomes and he has a good game like he is very capable of doing, I mean, you just look like an idiot. You sat the best player, the best quarterback right now in fantasy football, and you went with a guy who, sure, he had a good game against L.A., but he threw up that dud 2 weeks ago against Buffalo. So it's very, very hard here for me. I'm going to play it safe and say Mahomes will do something, find a way to get you the points you need. And right now you're looking for 25 points as a very solid week from your quarterback. And I think Mahomes gives you a more likely path to that because he can do it better with his legs. You know, he scored his first rushing touchdown this past week, and he will get you points there. And then, I mean, like I said, he can throw left-handed all of a sudden now. You know, when he gets in trouble, he finds a way. So Mahomes is my guy here just because I think I don't love either one, but I think Mahomes has shown that he can find a way to get you points, and that's why I got to start him. And if he blows up and he's on your bench, you're going to be kicking yourself.
Worried about you blowing him before he blows up.
Yeah, well,
It's a good one, though. Yeah, it's a tough one.
it is a tough one because we know Jacksonville's defense is very good.
Yeah.
Quarterback for you here is Deshaun Watson on Sunday Night Football. It's the Battle of Texas. They're hosting Dallas. Or Jared Goff at Seattle.
Well, I think last week's showing against Minnesota wasn't any bit of a farce, to say the least. I think Jared Goff's going to be that guy that he was last week and some. Now, I know Minnesota was kind of slouching a little bit, but I think that in Seattle, yeah, they lost a lot of people, but they haven't lost at all. I know they lost Earl Thomas this week, who's shown that he is pretty productive back there in the secondary, but, Watson still has a little bit of, camaraderie. He's got to get going with the troops. And I think going into Cowboys, I'm a little bit more worried about that. So I'm going to roll with Goff at the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think he just showed you don't want to sit him again. A lot of people, too. I mean, not a ton of people, but people had him on their bench last week when he blew up. So, they're jonesing to get him back in there because they don't want that to happen again.
Fortunately, the people I was playing didn't. 0-3.
I saw some crazy bench performances this week in my leagues. I mean, easily their bench players would have outscored anybody any week. That's how crazy the scoring was this week.
You crazy.
Timeout. 0-3?
No, it was 0-2. I was just joking.
Okay.
0-4?
No, I am
0-2?
0-4. It's all right.
Time in.
It's all right. About to be a fire sale here.
Who you got?
Who you got? Adrian Peterson at the Saints or Kenyon Drake at Cincinnati?
Who you got?
I think Cincinnati's a better team than Miami, so I think Cincinnati will get up on that in that game there and
Get all up in it.
And maybe it might be a similar situation to last week where Miami's down big early and Drake's, for whatever reason, just completely out of the game. Because Drake, it's not like Drake can't be a pass catching back too. So get him in there. But maybe they see something in Frank Gore that the rest of us don't, and Gore's on the field and he's the guy. So that really worries me there. And again, I think they get down early. Adrian Peterson, Redskins have had a week to prepare for this game. So I think they go into New Orleans and at least be competitive, which means AP should get 20 carries. And he's like all of a sudden now catching passes at a much higher clip than he ever did in his career. So if he can get 20 carries with, 5 targets, he'll have a nice game. And I think I got to go with Adrian Peterson here just because I think Drake's at that point now, like we talked about Chris Hogan. I think Drake's getting to that point where you might like to start dropping him here just for better options out there, especially in a shallow bench league that you only got so many spots on your bench. So yeah, give me AP here.
Oh, you can go ahead and switch to AP. Switch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ow.
Who you got?
All right, your running backs here. Aaron Jones for the Packers is going to Detroit and playing the Lions, or Phillip Lindsay, rookie sensation, going to the Jets.
I'm going to have to go with Lindsey. I like Aaron Jones, and I think that he's definitely going to be what sets the Packers apart between Jamal and T.Y. But
Ty.
I call him T.Y.
Ty.
T.Y. Anyway, reason being is, for one, I hate the Packers, and I'm not trying to say that, but I just don't think they're going to go into Detroit like they have been. I think Rodgers is banged up a little bit. Detroit's secondary's solid, so I think it's going to be to the point where they're going to focus a little bit more on the up front, and they're going to be able to shut that down there. And Lindsey has just shown that he can dominate. You know, you give him handful of passes, a couple touches on the rush, the guy's going to put up at least 90 to 100 yards, and half the time he's going to get in the end zone. So I'm going to go with that afro.
Yeah, both of these guys are in a major time split here, but Lindsey's obviously done more for 4 weeks. Jones only really had the one good week. One interesting thing, Packers, Adams is banged up. Cobb didn't play last week, still banged up. And then their number 3, Geronimo Allison, concussion protocol. So all 3 of those guys may be limited or out for this week matchup. So that's just only going to key more on the running game for Detroit to shut down.
The last one, wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. Calvin Johnson Ridley at Pittsburgh, or Corey Davis at Buffalo.
All right. Well, obviously, Calvin Ridley has 5 touchdowns the past 2 weeks and is doing really, really good things for this Atlanta offense. And I love him right now. And I'm always a fan of playing the hot hand. You know, until he fizzles out and settles down, just keep throwing him out there. But also, kind of coming on here, Corey Davis, and I think Corey Davis is definitely the better player of the two. He's got, the better physical tools, better skills, and he doesn't have a guy named Julio Jones that's going to be taking targets. You got Devontae Freeman coming back too, which might, kind of nick into what Ridley's going to do for you.
Sanu's a lot of slouch there too.
Yeah, so there's so many more weapons there, and I just think Calvin Ridley could easily, he could put up another, 70 yards and a touchdown and be respectable. He can easily just be a forgotten guy here, and everyone else just shines. Where Corey Davis, he's going to be the focal point of their offense, and Mariota's going to look to him. So I got to go with Corey Davis on this one.
Not bad. Tough pick, but I agree. All
right, our final who you got here. I got a 3-pack of receivers. I need one of them. Guy I just mentioned there, Calvin Ridley. He obviously, we just said he's going against the Steelers. He's one of the 3. I also have Kenny Galladay hosting the Packers, or Tyreek Hill hosting the Jaguars.
You know what? I'm going to go the opposite of where you're going here. Obviously, I know Tyreek Hill has been one of the most impressive players in the league this year as far as a wide receiver position, all positions, albeit. But Ridley has kind of shown that where he's at. And, as I mentioned, Sanu's kind of showing his role here, but all he is just a decoy. You know what I mean? Sanu used to be that number 2 guy, but it's not like that no more. And they didn't invest such a high draft pick on Ridley for him to go out there and kind of only get a couple passes here and there. He's shown he can do it, and at that point, you keep feeding the boy. Guy just got to get him. And Galladay, I think that's, kid's had an impressive year this far, but the Packers, their secondary has been pretty freaking solid. I mean, they got some great corners this year of the draft. Their safeties are still holding up. Dix is out there being a Dix. So,
got him.
Bottom line is, man, I'm gonna go with Ridley.
All right.
Too much shadowing on Tyreek Hill over there.
Yeah, that's the worrisome part. Is you got Ramsey on him, and he might just. This is, normally, is that a word?
Put it this way: Tyreek Hill's gonna have more rushing yards than he has passing yards.
Any normal week, Tyreek Hill's an obvious start here for you. But it's so dangerous going up against that pass defense because Jalen Ramsey is the best cover corner in the league. So I absolutely agree with you here. Sit Hill, and if you go with either one, okay. But yeah, Ridley, they got all those weapons, and that is probably going to be a shootout, just like the Falcons have been in all year. So if it's a shootout, Ridley scoring touchdowns, what makes you think he won't score another 1 or 2 touchdowns this week? And that's who you got.
That's who we got.
Who you got? That is who we got.
Hey, who you got? Hey, who you got? Anyway, on to the top 3 picks here. Rolling to them. Got our QBs rolling up here. Kind of an interesting week. A lot of good matchups. But who's your top 3?
Well, right away, we were just talking about the Falcons and Steelers being a high-scoring game. My number 1 and 3, Big Ben. I think he's going to just have a huge game at home like he tends to do. He's my number 1. Matt Ryan, the other side of the ball there, he's my number 3. So I think those two guys are each going to have huge games like we saw out of Goff and Cousins last week. So that's going to be the kind of game it's going to be. So, and sandwiched between those guys is a guy that we both really like, Phillip Rivers. He's been good, but he hasn't wowed you yet. He hasn't put up that big game yet, and I think this is the week he's going to do that. Oakland, they're not very good. They need a pass rush. I don't know where you get a pass rush on Oakland, but that's what they need right now. And
I know where he's at.
If only they had a pass rush, maybe they can get Phillip Rivers some pressure. But Phillip Rivers, without that pass rush, is going to have a huge, huge day.
I like those picks. For sure, especially since you're counting in pig Latin. I guess I'll go to my number 2, who is also Phillip Rivers, because I also agree that their whole secondary there, just their whole defense in general, is just not anything without Khalil Mack. I mean, it is just despicable. And John Gruden, he's lucky he got that win last week against the Browns, so he better hold on to that and cherish that for the next couple days. I will say that. My number 1, I got to go with the guy who's starting tomorrow in Indy, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to just destroy him. Not in Indy, but, against Indy. And
Chin.
oh, yeah. He's just going to freaking he's going to rock it, boy. But, yeah, I mean, in reality with Edelman there, even though Gronk's a little banged up, I actually think Chris Hogan may have some sort of significance tomorrow, given that situation there. But Sony Michel's going to definitely help out. And he's going to be that top dog. He's going to overtake everybody. And my number 3, guy who had a solid week last week and is coming into a kind of weak secondary, to say the least, is Blake Bortles. I think Blake Bortles has had a lot of different receivers between Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook. Yeldon, in my opinion, scares defenses more than Fournette
Yeah,
does.
as a pass catcher, yep.
And I think that's going to open things up a lot more on his side of the ball. And, if it comes to a shootout, I'm going to rely on Jacksonville's defense over Kansas City's offense to win that game. So those are my top 3 quarterbacks. Who you got on the running back side of things?
Real quickly here before we get onto that, you mentioned the Raiders barely getting the win against the Browns. I wanted a tie so bad because I wanted Cleveland to go to 1-1-2. For the first time in the history of the NFL, a team is going to have 2 ties in the first 4 weeks of the season. Unfortunately, Cleveland sucks just a little too much, and they lost that game. But, okay, running backs for this week. My number 1 guy coming off the bye here is a guy that had a huge week last week, or 2 weeks ago, McCaffrey. I think, he's going to come in. Carolina is in a good spot here. They're 2-1. They got to keep the good vibes going here because apparently, it's going to be a dogfight in that division with the Saints. We probably expected that. But, yeah, McCaffrey's my top dog here. I think Carolina is going to go in there and take care of business against the Giants. Number 2, Sony Michel. Tomorrow against the Colts, I think he's going to have a huge game. He had a really nice first game as the featured guy. Obviously, he's still going to be that. And James White is only going to be third down, pass-catching type situations. So Michel is definitely the guy there, and they haven't had a guy be the guy maybe since Corey Dillon. I mean, can you go that far back? Maybe Lawrence Maroney for a year, but honestly, this is the first time we've seen a guy be the guy for the running backs in New England, and it's kind of exciting because you know what that offense can do. And then lastly, I mentioned it earlier, just give him the ball, let him do his thing. Kerryon Johnson. Give him the ball, let him do his thing against Green Bay, and you will be pleasantly surprised when you don't force LeGarrette Blount. You don't force the ball to Theo Riddick. Get the ball to Kerryon Johnson as often as you can. That's my top 3.
My number 1 is Yeldon this week. I think Yeldon's going to have a very solid game here. And I think at anything, the opportunity is going to arise for him. Kansas City defense weak, as we've talked about, which stats have shown. And pending a shootout, this could be in great offense, great defensive type battle. But I think Yeldon's going to separate that, and he's going to be that benefactor on them 3rd and 7. You know what I mean? 3rd and long, he's going to be that guy that's going to be the main focus there. My second guy, who was your second guy, ironically, is Sony Michel. I agree.
Stop copying me.
Well, quit fucking guarding your paper over here, bro. But no, I agree with you, unfortunately, that they haven't had a lot of running backs back there. I mean, they haven't had that, single back who's been able to just dominate and who they've had confidence in. And that's going to be hard to get Belichick's confidence. You know what I mean? But with everyone coming back together, band's coming back, bro. Let's rock out. Michelle, man, he's a roadie. He's going to rock and roll, bro. I got hands on myself. My third one is Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott showed that he was hungry last week, and I think that if Dallas has any chance of surviving this year with a little bit of confidence, he's going to have to get involved and take over that team here. So those are my top 3 running backs.
All right. Respectable.
And obviously, I'm going to leave out the top dogs, but,
yeah, I mean, Gurley's always a good play, but we're not just going to give you Gurley, Kamara, whoever. I mean, they're always going to be the guys, but we're trying to give you a little outside the box. Receivers, I went back and forth on this one because it was.
You know what? Let me go first so I don't copy you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, do that here. My number 2 is the same guy you had.
Well, it's written. It's in the Google Docs. It's in the cloud, bro.
Clearly on my paper in front of me.
Yeah, I seen you're writing on the paper.
I'm not writing right now.
Mine's documented. Hey, it is what it is.
If you're watching us on YouTube, oh wait.
Yeah, poor production value over here. I'm just joking. Anyway, back to the wide receivers. I'm going to go with the AAA right here. I got Adam Thielen, number 1, Alshon Jeffrey, number 2, and Antonio Brown is going to be that guy who, he's been wanting the ball, and Juju's been getting a lot of that action. I'm telling you that he's going to be that man. He's going to have at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 this week. Also, he knows Le'Veon Bell's on his way back, so he knows that the ball's going to get shared even more here. So, not going to be enough time to get stingy. So, what you got ticking over there, bro?
All right, you went with AAA. I went with Dad. I went with DAD because I went back and forth with Thielen and...
I shouldn't have brought the acronym into it.
Yeah, I love it, though. I'm going to do this every week now.
Fuck.
I went back and forth. Thielen, Diggs. Ultimately, I cited Diggs because last week in a shootout, Cousins went to Diggs a little bit more than Thielen. And Diggs, I still believe Diggs is definitely the more talented, has the more potential for the big one.
I agree 100%.
So I went with Diggs as my number 1 guy. And then I do have an A as well. Keenan Allen is my guy there. I think, like we touched on, Oakland has no pass rush, can't get to Phillip Rivers. And I think Keenan's been just mediocre to bad all year, and I think this is what everyone's been waiting for, and he's going to burst onto the scene. Lastly, a guy I talked about in the Who You Got segment, I picked him, Corey Davis. I think against the Bills with very limited running game there for Tennessee right now with Henry and Lewis really not doing a whole lot. Corey Davis is going to continue to ascend, and he's going to be the big dog again this week. So that's Dad for my receivers.
Why don't you scream on the microphone a little bit more so people get yelled at? Their fucking officer.
Yeah.
Get in a car accident, fucking swerve, and they're like, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
Dad.
Are you my dad? Anyway, now that we got done with those, we're going to roll into our week predictions. So let's get this moving here. Tomorrow night, Colts rolling into Foxborough.
Before we start our picks, I just want to say I am 36-27 on the season. You are 35-28. So pretty tight here, neck and neck through the first quarter of the season.
Tight.
You don't have to pick against me intentionally now because it's not
Spite, motherfucker.
But I think this first game tomorrow night, Thursday night, and we talked about it already, Patriots are going to win this game. They have more talent. Indy is just banged up, completely destroyed with injuries, so New England will win this game.
I agree. Look forward to seeing Jacoby Brissett come in fourth quarter, kind of just let luck rest the shoulder.
Yeah,
get him
revenge
in the
game.
ice bath. Yeah, for sure. Broncos rolling into East Rutherford.
Yeah, I think even though they're coming off a short week on Monday night, I think Denver's going to find a way to win this game. Unlike going up against Mahomes, Darnold won't be able to do the same things. So They're going to get pressure on Darnold. They're going to make him look bad, and they're going to win this game. And hopefully, I mean, Case Keenum, do something. You should have had a huge game last week, and you crapped the bed so hard that people want to just forget about this Denver offense. Make us believe in the Denver offense again.
That's shitty. His bet, that is. And quite frankly, I think Keenum is going to pick things up here. He better. Because if he doesn't, then I'm not sold on the Broncos and where they're headed here.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The Jets, they are a below-average team. Offense can't figure things out. Darnold is in la-la land, so I got to say, Broncos all the way, baby. On the other side of East Rutherford, the Giants are going to Charlotte to battle the Panthers.
This is my lock of the week. Carolina, with an extra week to prepare, will go in there and they'll just destroy. I mean, that offense is going to have a really good week for Carolina, and they will make a bad Eli Manning look, well, bad.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with the opposite side of the ball. I'm going to go with the ODB coming out. Going to be able to get his first CD reception here. Spread out the ball a little bit. Saquon Barkley's going to get some action. And McCaffrey's going to go down. Bad for fantasy owners. That's a fact. Next game, your Dolphins strolling into Cincinnati. Now I know, hold on. Now I know that you've been picking against the Dolphins, thinking that they were going to go undefeated, which is just ridiculous. So has your thoughts changed now?
Well, let me just say, I wasn't picking against the Dolphins because I thought it was some good luck that if I picked them, I legitimately thought they were going to lose every one of those games, and they easily could have. They should have definitely lost to Tennessee and Oakland. So this week, and I shaved.
Where'd your mustache go?
I shaved the mustache. I had to. It was what I promised the wife, and I was telling everyone why I had this pedophile mustache. So
We
yeah,
all know why. Theo Pax.
Theo. Anyway, I'm not going to change my picking here. I'm always going to pick the team I think is going to win the game. I don't think Miami has the firepower to hang with Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati has enough on defense and a pretty good looking offense here, especially with Mixon probably coming back to win this game. So give me Cincinnati in this one.
Just keep picking against them. Keep picking against them, Kavanaugh. I'm going to go with Cincinnati also. Alrighty. Cincinnati. Hopefully Mixon gets back here, but if not, I think that they're going to be able to take care of things because Dalton's fine. I feel like he's got a solid set of receivers here. So, albeit Eifert's out, but he hasn't really done shit in 5 years anyway, so he'll move on. Division matchup. Ravens at the Browns.
We do like the Browns to be better, but
the Browns at the Browns.
Yeah, this is tough because I think the Browns are better, as we know they are. They're not as bad as they have been the past few years, but I still don't think they're ready to contend for the division, contend with the top teams in their division. And the Ravens clearly look like they're a team to beat in that division along with the Bengals. So I think the Ravens are going to go into Cleveland and say, hey, remember, we used to be you, so we're still better than you. Damn. Baltimore's going to win the game.
Yeah, I got to go with Baltimore on this one. Psych. I think the Browns are a little bit pissed off, and I think that they're going to friggin' roll.
I already marked it.
That sucks for you, bro, with your pink marker. I'm going to go with Cleveland here. I think Cleveland got to the point where they're going to bring Nick Chubb in, let him get the ball a little bit more, let him be one of the main focuses on their side of the ball, and I think Mayfield's going to have a decent game, possibly his best game yet. Give me the Brownies. Give me the Brownies. Packers strolling into Detroit.
If Kerryon gets enough touches, Detroit's going to win this game. I think he will get enough touches, and I think they will win this game. Plus, the Packers' receiving core, I don't know what it's going to look like on Sunday. And Rodgers just isn't himself. He's just not looking great. We talked about all the quarterbacks throwing incredible numbers. He's not doing it. So it worries me a lot, and Detroit's going to win this game.
Well, it doesn't worry me. I'll just say that. I actually feel pretty good about everything. So, I think he is going to go lose in Detroit, and I'm excited for it. I think he's actually going to get his ass kicked out there. And I agree with you. Kerryon's going to have a good game. Galladay, I say good dame.
Yeah, good dame.
Good dame.
Good dame.
She's a good-looking dame.
Yeah, that's a good dame she is.
That dame, she's good.
We respect women very much.
Yeah, Kavanaugh, easy over there. Anyway, let's go with Detroit, man. Go with Detroit. I think one of the more exciting games that I'm looking forward to is the Jaguars rolling in the Chiefs, man.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more exciting games on the docket this week. Undefeated Chiefs, only playing their second home game of the year, going up against the AFC runner-ups from a year ago, the Jaguars, and that high-powered offense goes up against a really great defense. I will take the defense for this game. I think finally Mahomes, had to go up against a good defense last week. He succeeded, but now you're talking about going to upper echelon defense, and I think Jacksonville's going to find a way to frustrate them, and maybe cause a couple turnovers, which Mahomes hasn't done yet this year. So give me Jacksonville in this one.
I like that choice. But I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs. I think that the offense is just too potent, and I think that they're going to be able to kind of stand up to the Jags here. I like Yeldon. I like him being the fill-in for Bortles, but I just, could be a point when it may be too much for the Jaguars. So give me KC. Titans going into the Bills. I think this is an easy one.
Yeah, just make it quick. Corey Davis and the Titans are going to win this game pretty easily.
Yeah,
Buffalo sucks.
Definitely. Buffalo, you suck, but your fans are awesome. Falcons rolling into the Steelers. Another game that's going to be solid to watch.
Yeah, this is a game. I mean, if you look at it, Falcons 1-3, Steelers 1-2-1. So both of these teams absolutely need this win here because the teams in the front of them are starting to pull away. So I like the Falcons to win this because, again, I don't think the Steelers without Bell are as good of a team. I think Connor's a nice piece, but the Falcons have too much on offense. They're going to find a way. Even with that depleted defense, they're going to find a way. And Matt Ryan is doing what he did 2 years ago. He's putting up very similar stats when he was an MVP. So I think they keep rolling. Falcons get to 2-3 and try to get back in there with the Panthers and the Saints.
Thought you were going to write another chapter about them. I agree with you. I think the Falcons are going to come down and beat the Steelers just because I don't think their offense is going to be all there. I think that their defense showed Steelers, I'm talking about, that they can play the first half, but they can't play that full game here. And if they do, Tomlin's got to figure out what formation he's going to run into here. Raiders rolling into the Chargers. The Battle of L.A.
I like the Chargers in this one. Again, Oakland, lucky they got a win last week because they played the Browns. And the Chargers have, a really good team top to bottom, and I think they're going to go in there without much pressure, again, because there's no Khalil Mack. And they're going to win this game probably pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it may be, as you were talking about, Keenan Allen. Hopefully he picks things up here. I do like Mike Williams on that side of the ball, though. I think he's something very interesting to look at. And I know their tight end, Gates is kind of showing a little bit of footwork because they got nobody. But I look at the top two receivers and the top two running backs just to have some solid performances here. Pretty interesting game, Vikings rolling into Philly.
Yeah, rematch of the NFC Championship game. And I think Minnesota is in much more dire situations than Philly right now, and they're going to find a way to get this W. I think they will get to the Wentz and frustrate them a little bit and cause confusion there because this Minnesota team, after losing to the Bills and then a short week losing to the Rams, they got to figure it out right now. Their last 3 games, tie, lost to the Bills, lost to the Rams. So they cannot lose again, and they will find a way to beat the Eagles, even though the Eagles are coming off a tough loss last week to the Titans as well. But give me the Vikings in this one.
I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think that the way that Wentz is back, the way he's clicking with some of the receivers, obviously I mentioned Alshon earlier.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things going on there that's more positive than the way the Vikings defense is trending. Is there things to be worked out on Minnesota side? I think, yes, they'll turn it around here. They're going to have a hot streak, but it's just not this week. I think the Eagles are just holding on too tight. And I think, if anything, the Eagles were moving back a little bit as far as being contenders, even getting into the playoffs. But now I think that given they have the offensive players that they really want in there, look for them to step all over them. Cardinals coming into the Niners. Kind of boring game.
Yeah, not a great game here, and I'm just going to real quickly just say the Niners will win because the Cardinals are bad.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that one too. Well, you said the Niners?
Yeah, I'm taking the Niners.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
I already marked it.
See that?
If only there was a way to cover
Watch
the color
pin.
pink.
Yep. Yeah, I got to go with the Cardinals. I think this is David Johnson's. He had decent week last week, but I think he's going to really be one of them 20-pointers. So fantasy perspective, David Johnson, you're going to be on the clock here doing some good things. And the Niners, yeah, they were able to kind of mess around with a couple things, get a triple-double, but fell up a little bit short on the loss. All they did was give footage to see how bad their backup is. Rams heading into the Seahawks.
Well, this seems like the game you look at. Seattle is in a situation where a divisional game, they're going to come out, they're going to win this game because they are, they're hungry, they want this, and the Rams may be kind of overlooking them because there's nobody really competing. But the Rams are just too damn good. I think they'll get to 5-0, and they have this awesome offense, awesome defense. Peters is healthy, he's playing. Seattle and Russie hasn't looked very good as well, and that's a big cause for concern for Seattle. So the Rams continue their hot streak.
I agree. I mean, you mentioned Mike Davis earlier. Yeah, he's something on the panic if you need this week, someone who can kind of help you out on that side of the ball. But, yeah, Russie, man, has just not looked too good. Tyler Lockett's numbers are looking decent, you know what I mean, as far as fantasy goes. But as far as a team focus, the Rams are just too damn good, man. And the fact that they got Peters back is just not going to help any teams going here forward. So, dock me up with the Rams. Cowboys going into the Texans. The Battle of Texas.
The Battle of Texas. I think I'll take Houston in this one. All year long, I don't like Dallas. I don't like Prescott. So I think Watson and all the weapons he has, including Cootie.
I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Yep.
I'm going to take Zeke, and I think that they're going to definitely turn it around here. Him and Dakota going to get on the same page here. Look for their tight end to get involved here. Might be a little something to think about. But in reality, their defense is decent. I think they're going to have to manpower the Texans. Monday night. Redskins coming into Nolans.
Washington coming off the bye. We talked about extra week to prepare. I like them to win this game just because the Saints defense still doesn't wow me, and I think Washington will give AP plenty of carries, and he'll do his thing, and he'll have a nice week, and that'll be enough to outweigh what Kamara and Ingram are going to do. So, and I like Alex Smith a lot too to have a big week. So Redskins are my pick this week.
I'm going to roll with the Saints here. I know the defense hasn't been what they were last year, and AP's got a little bit of a bye, but I think he's going to hit a little speed bump this week here. Chris Thompson may be the guy that gets involved a little bit more, trying to play catch-up, that is. And I think the whole change of pace between Ingram and Kamara is going to definitely put a lot of confusion on the Redskins. Now, albeit they are a pretty tough defense this year. So at that point, got to go with the Saints. Well, Brad, it's about that time. How the hell do you leave us some hate mail?
We are on Twitter. You can get a hold of us on there. We're at fantasy_hustle. If you go onto our Twitter page, you'll see our email, which is, I guess it's Jon G's Fantasy Hustle.
You know it is.
At gmail.com. And we also have a voicemail. Call us on the voicemail. We will, I promise you, next week, if you leave us a voicemail, we will get to you and include you in our show. That voicemail line is 219-576-6797.
Well, Brad, all I got to say is I think it's time for you to go clean the toilets, bro. Peace.
I'm going to clean the toilets.